this is Aromie here, and welcome back to our Life Derek DLC. I don't recall much about the last time we recorded, besides like babysitting his brothers, but I do remember that we have to play the Swarry one last, and then for step 3 we have to follow through with Derek. Something with Derek. We had to mention we want to be with Derek or something. I don't remember. But we're gonna play Lemonade. It was afternoon on a sleepy summer day. Nothing urgent needed to be done. No real plans had been made. You and your company were simply hanging out. My company. We're simply hanging out around the local beach, free as the breeze. It was one of those good days where the world was your own and you had 2 of your close friends that you'd enjoy it with. Derek was on your left and Cove was on your right. That means I'm in the middle. 3 pairs of footprints trail along in a soft white sand behind you. Derek had only been dropped off minutes ago. Instead of going inside your house or Cove's, you simply started to walk. It was definitely hot out. Southern California tended to get that way, but it wasn't so bad that you had to hide away from the beating rays of the sun. Cove's hands were in his pockets. He spoke out while facing away from you. Instead, he lazily watched the unchanging horizon.
So,
what do you guys want to do? You and Derek took on matching squints. Normally there'd be endless answers to that question, but the lackadaisical mood made it feel like trying to solve math problems in a dream. You had nothing. Your thoughts were moving as slowly as a tide that inched towards the shore bit by bit. Finally, the resident problem solver offered a possibility with a yawn and a tall stretch of his arms over his head.
well,
Want to walk to the grocery store? What? Cole twisted his face to the opposite side and stared at Derek. A stuttering laugh expressed his disbelief. Why would we go to the grocery store? With a shrug, Derek scratched his cheek and explained. Well, it's probably different here, but where I live, the closest place to get stuff isn't a convenience store or a mall or anything. It's a grocery store. So sometimes me and my bros take a trip down there and see what we can find. I mean, that's like, I guess, living in a small town and the closest thing to entertainment is like a convenience store or something. So it's pretty exciting. Sounds neat. Wouldn't you find groceries, you joked? I'll try it if you want to. You stared at him with the same questioning look as Cove. You nodded along with the explanation. You've got some interesting hobbies, Derek. No. That sounds neat. Derek stuck a thumbs up in front of his chest, open and excited. Cove folded his arms across his body, unsure, and closed off.
this is gonna be great.
It's really not like normal errands. You can get anything you want. There are lots of things at the store you never even think about when you're there with your parents, and a list of stuff for the house. That is true. When I go to a store, there is something I want, and I'm only getting that something and not looking at anything else because that's distractions. So, I mean, Derek's right. Cove's formerly heavy, drooping lids lifted high, showing his bright blue eyes. He glanced between you and Derek for final confirmation that you were seriously doing this today. Derek had complete confidence in his stance. It could be interesting. The corners of your neighbor's mouth perked up as well.
Sure.
Okay, let's go grocery shopping. Cool. Do we have money? It was another successful bit of improvising on Derek's part. He put his hands on his hips eagerly.
Let's go.
I'm pretty sure I know where their store is, but the 2 of you should probably lead the way. Leave it to us. Cole puffed his chest out with pride. He was a true local to the town after being there for so many years. And your walk continued, now with an actual destination in mind. You retraced the remnants of your steps in the sand, heading back to the neighborhood, then up the hill and out of the residential area. When you turned onto the main street, the grocery store was already visible in the distance. It wasn't going anywhere, so you enjoyed the stroll together. You would arrive when you arrived. Derek continued to sell the concept of his plan by recounting stories of him and his brother's past adventures in Groceryland. So we gotten super lucky because the discount rack had a whole cherry pie for way off. Me, George, and Nico pulled our pocket change to get it, and then we had an entire pie just like that. We sat outside on a bench near the store and ate it from the pan. It was cut into 6 slices, only let the kids have 1 piece each. It was already a lot of sugar. I didn't want to make them food sick. I tried to come up with how we were going to explain half a pie to Mom, but Nico had his own idea. He took a slice he wasn't allowed to eat and instead threw it at George. What? Cole's mouth gaped open at the audacity. Derek laughed out loud at the memory and the response it got in the present. He'd been watching way too many cartoons of food fights and pies to the face, I guess. You'd believe that. If there was one thing Nicholas loved, it was Derek. And if there was another, it was cars. And if there was a third, it was copying things he'd seen others do.
Obviously.
Obviously, George didn't let that slide and he took the 5th piece of pie and squished it right into Nico's head. His hair was covered in dark cherry goo. It was a mess, but if you can't beat them, join them. I dumped the last of the pie on myself. Why? It stopped them from fighting over it, and they would have ended up feeling bad if they got messy and I didn't. Nicholas doesn't think very far ahead. Oh, what did you do next?
Honestly,
We found a water fountain around the back of the grocery store and tried to scrape off as much pie as possible. Then we went home. Mom still figured out what happened, and we all had to take real baths. That was a good time. A fun smile settled on Derek's face. He glanced up to the sky while getting lost in an entirely private moment of reminiscing. Cove was still reflecting on the story with amusement. That's adorable. I hope we'll find a whole pie. See, Cove? Grocery stores are exciting. You giggle at Derek's storytelling. You shook your head. I'm torn between that's adorable and giggling. That's adorable. Thanks. The conversation stayed at the topic of store-related outings. Derek had plenty more experiences to share. The chat didn't last much longer, though. Soon you crossed the street and arrived at Sunset Bird's local mom-and-pop grocery store. Mom-and-pop local grocery stores are the best. Can't tell me otherwise, unless you know it's actually really run down local mom-and-pop shop. You and your 2 coworkers headed right through the automatic doors. A shiver went down your spine and you stepped out of the afternoon heat and into the powerful air-conditioned store. Shiny, orderly aisles stretched out in front of you. Each one was tightly packed with a plethora of brightly packaged merchandise. To some people, the rows and rows of items might have been a slog to go through, but seen through Derek's eyes, it was a scavenger hunt with endless opportunities. Though it was Cove who spoke first. Do we need a cart?
nope.
Probably not. Derek casually waved that off, eyes still fixated ahead on the altar of consumerism ahead. We're here for quality, not quantity. Besides, do we even have enough money to buy a ton of things? Oh, wait. Cove suddenly burrowed his hands into his pocket. Once again, he tucked them in deep but didn't find what he had gone in search of. I don't have my wallet. It's at home. Me neither. I thought we'd just be in the neighborhood all day. Yeah.
I figured.
It's cool. Derek's lack of reaction couldn't smooth over Cove's obvious response to the situation. His wavy eyebrows pulled down together. We could have stopped by to get it before we left. Nah, this was my idea, so it's my treat. I've got like $8 and some change. That's enough for all of us to spend around a few dollars or put it together for one thing. That's gonna be plenty. Thanks, Derek. Not even $10 between us. Wow, it's like we're kids again. I mean, you are kids. I promise I'll pay you back. Yeah, that'd be more than enough for this. You smile gratefully. Don't smile gratefully. With your appreciation, Derek felt encouraged to continue. Having limited funds is the best part. You've got to get creative. Cove's hands finally deserted his pockets, and one came up to rub his forearm instead.
Alright.
Okay, thanks. Let's get something good. I cannot read today. Derek took a step forward as he cheered. Alright, here we go. You went down the nearest aisle, swiveling your head to check both sides of the path as you swung your currently empty of good arms through the air. The first stop of the market expedition was a discount rack in the back. You didn't have the same luck as Derek and his little brothers. It was the only place in the store that was barren. One shelf had several dented cartons of chicken stock. Stuffed in the bottom of the rack was a bag of plain rolls. The sight was pretty pathetic. Too bad. He shrugged like it was nothing, but his words told a different story. It would have been easy if there was a pie here, or a cake, or one of those pans with a bunch of cinnamon rolls. Wistfully, Cove continued to mumble a list of miscellaneous pastries that you might have potentially been able to get if the fates had aligned. Good, this keeps things interesting. We can still get it. The stock. It's such a good deal. Sorry, Cove. I was hoping for a cake this time too. You shook your head with a smile. This keeps things interesting, you know?
Definitely.
Come on, Clove, cheer up. He looks so sad. There's still plenty of possibilities, and if push comes to shove, we could afford a smaller treat, like getting 3 boxes with 1 slice of cake each. We wouldn't eat more than that anyway. The deadpan expression Cove directed straight at Derek made him lift a curious brow.
What?
You want more? Cove could have eaten half the pie himself. Speak for yourself, Derek. 1 slice wouldn't cut it. You don't need that much dessert, Cove. Cove could have eaten half the pie himself.
Whoa.
Alright, it's a good thing we didn't find one then. Hey! You pushed past the already pilfered treasure chest and continued to chat. You passed the cereals, pastas, and sauces, an aisle full of chip bags and soda packs and more. The dried goods and canned foods now behind you. You arrived at the produce section. The arrangement of goods was much more open than the narrow rows of shelves. Three of you could spread out more in between pallets and baskets of fresh fruits and vegetables. Derek grabbed an avocado. Oh my god, I gotta eat my avocado. Thanks, Derek, because I have like 2 and they're very, very soft. To check its ripeness, Cove stared at the watermelons, appreciating the fruit, but his blank face made it obvious he had no idea how to tell if they were good quality or not. Then a recognizable crackling sound spluttered to life. Both the boys with you lifted their heads. Without conversing, the two rushed over to the back wall where the leafy greens were piled up. A light spray of mist bursted from the sprinkles, raining down gently on the produce. Cove and Derek stuck their hands into the damp air while snickering. Derek rubbed his hands together, pretending he was washing them. Cove lifted his hand up to be as close to the source of water as possible. You also had your hand in the veggie mist. You thought the two of them were so silly. That was weird. You stuck your face into the mist. I'm gonna think they're silly, because I remember seeing that when I was younger, and I knew not to like just stick my hands out under it, because then your hands drip, and then it's gonna drip onto the veggies, and that veggies is somebody's dinner. There is something other than water in the air for the both of them to react the same way without having to talk about it. Their impromptu public shower ended shortly. And it was back to the center of the space for them. Knowing grins were shared between the pair as you regrouped, there was a comfort in realizing someone else had the same silly habit as you. With the distraction over and the main goal unresolved, Cove helplessly glanced around the store. He was totally stumped. There's a lot of things I like, but I don't have to get any of it now. How do we pick? There was a whine in his tone, and he crossed his arms out of frustration. Derek kept it light, same as he would when he's dealing with his much younger sibling. Sorry. Dude, you need more imagination. Turn lemons into lemonade.
I've got a plan.
Actually, well, yeah, that's what we should do. We can get some lemons and make our own lemonade. The concept struck Cove just as much as Derek. Oh, that would be cool. Now that's an idea. I think so too. If that's what you want to do, you gave a nod. I think so too. Great. Derek marched with purpose to a box that was heavy with mesh bags of the desired yellow citrus. He tapped a finger to his chin to bounce from one foot to the other. Derek, suddenly a lemon connoisseur who scrutinized the offerings with utmost focus. He selected 2 bags, one in each hand. The bottom of each pack was set against his upturned palms. Derek jiggled the lemons and tried to get a sense of their weight. Finally, the bag on the right was deemed superior, and Derek carefully laid the unwanted bundle back onto the sack. Then he lifted the winner high, showing it off to Cove and you. I've got my thing. It's only $3. Your turns. Well, it's including tax. I'm going to assume it's like $4 at this point. This time, Cove didn't look aimlessly at what was in front of him. He shut his eyes and put all his mind powers into conjuring up an answer. Soon he stole a quick glance at Derek's lemons. He squinted eyes. And then he took his turn.
Come on. Let's go.
You made another trip across the length of the store, this time at a much brisker pace. Cove had a target in sight, even if you couldn't see it yet. He flew past all the food aisles, the pet shelves, and the cleaning supplies. He only stopped when you made it to the one random aisle in the store with cheap plastic kids' toys. This is it. His words were eager and certain. There was a childish excitement to Cove that was fitting for the location. He reached a hand into the wall with yo-yos and bubble blowers. His fingers landed on a baggie of water balloons. Drinking lemonade is gonna make me want to have fun outside too. We can use this for that. Perfect plan, Cove. Good work. I knew you could do it. It's great. You found something. I'm amazed you didn't get food. Alright, you couldn't at the two? I mean, I'm amazed you didn't get food. Me too. For all his previous indecision, the sweetness of victory was all the more worth it for Cove. His selection was even cheaper than Derek's, $2, and a bit of change. All that was left of Derek's money was $3 in your choice of prize. Is this including tax? Because if it's including tax, I can't get anything. Derek patiently cradled his bag of lemons while Cove watched you expectantly, excited to see what the final piece of puzzle would be. You reflected on the theme that was forming, your own preferences and the shareability of different goods. In the end, you opened your mouth and said, how about chips to snack on? Let's get some candy to eat the lemonade. I want those little umbrellas to put in drinks. Can we get the discounted rolls for real? Bubble blowers, yo-yo, gum. I don't want anything. See, realistically, I don't think we have enough money, but this is a make-believe world, so maybe we do have enough money. So I'm not gonna say I don't want anything. I'm torn between candy or chips. Let's get some candy. Yes, we need that. You got to lead the way out of the toy aisle and back into the thick of the grocery store traffic. You wound around the aisles until you find the right spot. It took another minute to pick out the best candies, and then you were done. With items in hand, you, Derek, and Cove went through the checkout line. Derek dug out his pocket change and paid for your odd arrangement of items. None of you bothered to get it back. Derek's was already in one, and you and Cove could easily carry your things on your own. After a successful grocery trip, you returned to the great outdoors to walk back to the neighborhood. This kind of outing reminded you that it wasn't about what you were doing. What counted was who you were doing it with. Outside, you gathered in front of the crosswalk and waited for a chance to get back on the main sidewalk. While standing around, it was unanimously decided that you'd bring your goods to Cove's house and make the lemonade there. Your home had the risk of Elizabeth deciding she wanted a pre-dinner snack. She wouldn't appreciate having a lemonade-making operation in the way. There was no worry of that in the Holden condo. Cove's mom and dad were out, and even if they weren't, they were his parents, not his bossy big siblings. They wouldn't even dream of throwing the three of you out of the kitchen to use it instead. Derek was thinking along similar lines based on what he said next. Honestly, man, I can't wrap my head around what it's like to not have any siblings hanging around the house at all. I don't mean that you're weird for that. It's just gotta be so different.
Really?
Is it? I have my dad here. My mom is staying right now, too.
I guess.
Yeah, but that's not the same. Parents take care of the kids, and the kids have a bunch of stuff they need. Every day has to be about me and my brothers. If we go out to eat, will everyone like the stuff there? Or will George be too picky? Or are we old enough to do whatever the thing is? Or is Nicholas too little? My birthday is the only time I can do everything that I want for the whole time, and I still choose to keep my bros in mind, even though my parents don't make me.
It's okay.
I don't mind, but it's crazy imagining a world where I don't have to do that. I hadn't thought about that. I feel like it's not even just a sibling thing. Like, once you form a friend, like a friend group, you also have to consider everybody's likes and dislikes. Because whenever Tyler and I hang out with our friend Zach, we have to make sure the place we eat has something he can eat. Otherwise, we can't go to said restaurant. Cove's eyes darted back and forth, and he bit the inside of his cheek. I guess having siblings or not changes how someone thinks. I figured people would be who they are no matter what, but maybe I would have needed to be at least a little different if I had to share my parents and life all the time. I'm glad both of you are who you are. I can relate to that, Derek. I wonder who I'd be without Elizabeth. I don't even want to imagine a world without Elizabeth. I'm glad I'm glad both of you are who you are. Yeah. Thanks, Michiko. Me too.
But
The road was clear, so Derek got the conversation, his legs moving again. He started preparations by listing off what you need to gather when you made it back. Sugar, ideally, some ice, and really cold water. A pitcher or something like that. Do you have one of those lemon squeezers? We can do it by hand, but if we gotta. With every object Derek decided, Cove nodded along plainly, but he was watching something off in the distance. His faraway thoughts made Derek's words reach him less and less until Derek noticed a lack of reaction. It called to Cove more loudly to catch his attention. Are you okay, dude?
Oh.
Cove blinked as his brain snapped back into place in the center of his head. It's nothing. What were we talking about? Cove, where were you? Where did you go within that 1 minute? Derek spun his lemon bag into a mini tornado by twisting it around tight from the bottom and then releasing a snicker.
No worries.
I was just making plans for making the lemonade. Okay. The rest of the trip passed by comfortably. Derek carried the conversation and Cove really paid attention from then on. Why did he zone out? Once you had arrived in your neighborhood and reached Cove's front door, the resident of the building opened it up without needing any key. It was already unlocked. Derek gasped upon seeing such a lack of security. Cove, however, was so relaxed and content that he yawned while going inside. That unknowingly cut off Derek's chance to question Cove about his choice not to lock the door. He simply followed his friend inside and you did as well. Cove leisurely crossed the living room to drop his bag of water balloons on the coffee table for later. You left your candies there alongside it.
I'm on it.
Alright. Derek went straight into the kitchen. He had his lemon bag over his shoulder like a gym pack and flipped it over to sit it beside the sink. He slipped his thumb through the holes of the mesh and tore it. Where's your colander? I had to think what a colander was for a second. Cove paused, looking incredulously at the wall. Then he turned and projected his confusion across the counter towards the source of it.
What?
My what? Undeterred, Derek was quick to offer a rephrase. A strainer. In the lower cabinet. The one on the left. Derek presses. I don't even have a strainer. Looks like I gotta add that to the many things I need for this house. Derek pressed his hands into the marble and leaned forward with a grin.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cove. I've never heard a strainer be called a colander in my life. I can't believe you didn't know what a colander is. You learn something new every day, huh, Cove? Oh yeah, I totally knew Derek was... Oh, totally knew what Derek was talking about. Let's just watch them for now. Then the spiky-haired chef ducked down and disappeared from your sight. If you could call someone who made lemonade a chef, that is. When he popped back into view, framed by the back wall and the support beams at the front of the kitchen, Derek was holding a silver strainer. He plopped it into the sink and sharply clinked it against the metal basin. Derek took the bag he'd set nearby and dumped every single lemon into the waiting container. He turned the faucet so he could clean the cheery fruits. The sound of running water added an extra layer of relaxation to the atmosphere. Cove stopped dawdling and joined the already hard at work Derek in the kitchen. He grabbed a cutting board and a large knife from an upper drawer. It was his house and he'd wordlessly claimed responsibility for the riskiest part of making the lemonade. Cove also directed you towards the sugar and a few other things. As it turned out, Mr. Holden didn't have an actual lemon squeezer, so you were going to have to do that by hand. He did have a perfectly crystal clear glass pitcher that'd be perfect for the lemonade. The body of it was a completely round ball shape. It had a narrow edge that pulled in at the top with one side pitched into a spout. As far as you could tell, it had never been used. That sounds like something I actually have. 1 second, I want to grab it. 1 second. I'll be right back. This looks like it, doesn't it? It's round at the bottom, has a little spout right here. Tyler uses it for his tea. Okay, show and tell is over, but I have that if they were describing something like that. Have you made lemonade before, Ichigo, Cove? Derek casually questioned both of you while he hefted the so-called colander up and down to shake off some of the water clinging to the freshly washed lemons. I made my mom a lime juice before. I don't remember how I did it though. I think it was like half water and then I like rolled a lime and squeezed that in and then dumped a bunch of sugar. Is that lemonade? I use lime though. Limonade. I make it all the time, but only in the summer. I've done it a few times, maybe I don't remember. I've done it a few times, but I don't remember how I did it. Like, I don't know if that was correct steps, but you know. Me and Cove have made it together before? Oh no. No, Cove and I have not done anything, because this is all Derek, so. What about you, Cove? I made really simple lemonade before, just for me. I squeezed one lemon into a glass of water and dumped it in a spoon. Oh my god, Cove! Shut the fuck up. Cove, shut up right now, because we're so similar. My bangs are not working with me today. Anyway, Cove and I are so similar. It wasn't that great, but it was easy. Cool. I mean, I used lime instead of lemonade, but you know. Derek hummed while placing lemons on a clean kitchen towel. He took a fruit from the colander with his left hand, passed it over to his right, and placed that down while grabbing a new one.
It's all good.
I've made it before too. Fresh lemonade is so good. I'm excited for this. So am I. Your tools were all prepared now, so the team shifted into the actual creation of the traditional summer drink. Cove would cut the lemons into chunks. Chunks? Not halves? Derek gave Cove a tip to roll the lemons against the board before slicing them to get the juices going. You and Derek worked hard together to squish the fruits. This is how you make lemonade? You squeeze the lemon parts over the pitcher itself with a smaller strainer balanced over the mouth of it to catch the seeds. Piece by piece, you crush a thick peel into itself to pop the little sacks of juice in the fruit. The tips of your fingers began to wrinkle after a while, but slowly a murky liquid pooled at the bottom of the glass container. When enough fruits were chopped, Cove joined in the juicing effort. The three of you huddled around the counter together. Oh, we also have extra fruits? So it's not just lemonade, it's like strawberry lemonade or something. You leaned over the one pitcher and strained to get everything you could out of the little yellow menaces, while not accidentally squirting acid into anyone's eyes. The precariousness of the situation aside, Cove continued the conversation with a question of his own. Derek, you've made lemonade, but did you ever do the whole lemonade stand thing where you try to sell it to random people who pass by? Oh yeah, it was a mess, and I think we only sold like 2 cups. Nicholas kept drinking our supply, and George's effort to stop him spilled even more of it.
Oh man.
Plus, the 2 kids fighting over the lemonade jar probably scared people away from the stall. But it's not like I was expecting that to be some kind of entrepreneurial success. It was for Nico and George to have fun, and they did, mostly. As usual, tales of Derek's endeavors as the big brother got Cove to chuckle. You were also smiling, even though your fingers had started to cramp after so much lemon compacting. Me and Elizabeth did that too. I never got to do that. It's not fair. I didn't ever try. I could never talk to strangers like that. Yeah, it's fair. It was pretty awkward whenever anyone did come by. But man, all this business talk makes me think about how I only met either of you because my dad partnered with Cove's dad's business. If that hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have ever learned I existed. Derek, let's not talk about that. You'd still know each other, obviously. Yeah, and Cove and I would still obviously fall in love with each other if we, well, we did. Even with Derek there, we still fell in love for each other. But not this time, baby boy. It is your time to shine. Derek squeezed his 12th lemon chunk with a fittingly sour expression on his face. He'd accidentally made himself feel like a third wheel. In the cluster of human juicers, Derek was in the middle, yet he began to fade despite being right next to you. You and Cove looked at one another from over Derek's lowered head. Cove pushed himself to smile through his concern while also giving Derek's arm a little nudge up with his elbow. I worry about that kind of thing sometimes too. If my dad hadn't picked this street to move to, I wouldn't have met with Chico. The bravery he mustered began to disintegrate after putting that truth to the front of his mind. Cove swallowed bitterly. I don't like it when I start thinking about that.
It's okay.
But my dad still would have had his business, so I still would have met you. Now I'm sad. Sheepishly, Derek pressed his shoulders up around his face. He managed a small smile. Yeah, it's rough for all of us. Where your parents live and what your parents do has to matter so much to everything. Derek bit his lip, unwilling to let himself continue to speak negatively. But, like a turtle coming out of his shell, Derek lifted himself off the counter and rejoined you and Cove at his regular eye level. We did meet each other and we're friends. That's what counts. Yeah. Exactly. What ifs don't make a difference because we're really all here. We could have met another way somehow. That's three of us who worry all those things. I'm glad we got to meet. Soon we'll all be old enough to decide everything for our lives. We could have met another way somehow. No, exactly. Yeah. Cove quietly watched over his friend, soothed by his uplifted mood. Then his lips parted as a pleasant thought came to mind. Hey, this is where I was standing when I first met you.
Right?
Oh yeah. Derek bounced up on his toes and tossed a lemon piece he'd been working on over into the trash can. It landed inside perfectly. But I was on the other side of the counter back then, and now I'm here in the kitchen with you. That thought caught your ear and you lifted one of your brows. Do you remember the night Cove told you he met a new kid named Derek? But he didn't say much about it. All you really knew was that their parents had started working together, and then Derek began to come around the neighborhood for visits. Derek could recognize an intrigued audience when he saw one and did what he knew how to do. Tell the rest of the story. Mr. Holden invited my dad over for a meal at his house after their partnership was approved. He talked about Cove before when him and my dad were getting to know each other. You can't get away from hearing about Mr. Holden's top-notch son if you spend any time with him. Oh, little Cove is so shy. Off to the side, Cove mumbled with embarrassment over what he clearly thought was an unnecessary addition. Derek laughed the minor interruption off and went on.
So,
my dad suggested that I come too, since we were the same age. Mr. Holden was apparently really into the idea. I had no idea what to expect from something like that, but I wanted to go to a sort of business dinner with my dad. It felt pretty cool to be invited, and then I went. Whatever I was imagining before I got there, Mr. Holden definitely wasn't it. I had thought my dad was casual for a professional business person, but Cove's dad takes the cake. A warmth came to Cove's expression, not the red hot heat of fluster from before, but a gentleness that was based in his honest love for his parent. A lot of people don't expect Dad to be how he is. What did you think about me when you first met me, Derek mindlessly scratched his damp hand against the back of his head. A stray lemon seed clung to one of the spikes of his hair. You didn't want to cut the two off, so the little bit went unmentioned.
No way!
Honestly, when I spotted you in the back of the kitchen, I thought Mr. Holden had another older kid he was hiding, because there was no way that guy was 13. You were so tall and fit, and you just stared at people. You seemed like a tough upper grade teen who'd never talked to somebody like me. You snickered under your breath. If you didn't know any better, you'd think he was describing Elizabeth. Having that description be assigned to Cove Holden of all people was hilarious. Cove was equally startled by Derek's choice of words. His eyes opened wide in amazement.
Oh.
You thought I was tough. Yeah, I did, but thought is definitely the right word for that. He's far from tough. He's soft. That instantly put Cove into a pouty mood. He pressed both his palms against the marble counter, not bothering to squeeze another lemon. Cove didn't want to play anymore. Derek leaned his shoulder against Cove's side affectionately. He reached past him to the lemon slice Cove wasn't using and started to juice it himself.
Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with being a softie. I like that about you. Bringing Derek's statement to life, Cove visibly relaxed his stance. The tone of his voice was equally delicate. I guess it's not bad. Cove was honestly kidding himself if he thought he was anything other than a sensitive sweetheart. But just like Derek, that was something you treasured about him. It's great, Cove. Cove took a new piece of fruit and rejoined the lemonade, making efforts. Derek pinched an eye shut from the tension of crushing a chunk in his fist. He hesitantly continued the topic. So what about me? When you first met me, what kind of impression did you get? With much less force, Cove used both hands to work on his single lemon. He answered the question while staring off into space. That was likely the same expression Derek had seen the moment they met, the face he's read as intimidating rather than easily distracted. I thought you probably like sports. All three of you shook from laughter, bumping against each other with your closeness, like a bunch of grapes on a vine wrestling in the wind.
I get it.
Okay. Michiko, your turn. What did you think about me when we met? Oh, your mind drifted back to a few months ago before summer vacation had begun. You had stepped out of your house late in the evening when Cove was sitting on the curb with someone else, someone you'd never seen in your life, not even in passing at school. A green-eyed boy with a football jersey who was joking around lightheartedly with your longtime neighbor. You'd guessed immediately that he was the Derek kid from the Holdenston business relationship. That or Cove had learned a magic spell to summon a new friend out of nowhere. You had stood there staring for only a second, but the newcomer noticed your presence quickly. He jumped right to his feet, jogged across the street, and stuck out his hand for you to shake. With the wide grin that you were so familiar with now, he introduced himself to you for the first time as Derek. Bro, cute. Is he? Oh, hell yeah! I thought you were cute! Hell yeah, that's the option I would choose. I thought you were so nice. I thought you were younger than Cove. I thought you were the politest teenager I'd ever met. I thought this guy likes sports. I thought you were cute. I didn't know what to think. No, hell no. I would have thought he was cute.
Really?
Oh, you're so cute. Thanks. I expect to hear what you thought of me now. Oh, I actually don't want to know. Derek's gaze shifted from the picture in front of him to settle on you instead. There was a focus in his eyes. It made you hold your breath from anticipation. I thought you were cute too. Bruh. You'd hoped you'd be able to inhale again after he spoke, but that only made it worse. You struggled to get any oxygen in. Thank you for telling me. Well, I'm glad you didn't think I sucked. Okay. We're a couple of cuties. You smirked. No! When you began to blush. By the way, you have a lemon seed in your hair. And then you kept busy by finding that. No.
Oh!
No, we can now finally mention the lemon seed, yeah? Derek, right? You're right. Right. 1 second. Why would you do that when your hands are already sticky? Unless you don't care, but okay. Derek raked his hands through his light brown strands blindly. Unfortunately, he focused on the top and sides, so he never hit the right spot. One of your hands covered the laughter coming out of your mouth, and you used the other to point out the target on the back of his head. Finally, he was able to brush his seed onto the floor. He bent down to pick it up and drop it into the side of the counter. Thanks, Michiko. You're welcome. We could add a little of the lemon zest, too. I'll do that. Derek fumbled to move the topic to something else. His darkening cheeks were probably the reason why. Do you have a grater or peeler? Yeah. Cove gestured to the same drawer the knife had come from. Derek dug through it until he successfully retrieved a multi-textured grater. I also don't have that. Maybe I need to get that too. He took his stuff to the opposite side of the kitchen to not get it in the way and worked with his back to you and Cove. Cove tilted his head thoughtfully. He was inspired by Derek's work ethic. If this is gonna be a fancy lemonade with zest, then we should do that thing where you put whole slices in it too. I can cut a few of the leftover lemons.
Cool.
Michiko, can you pour the water and add sugar in the pitcher so it can start to dissolve? Easy! I can do this. Yep. You started by filling up the sparkly jug with chilled, filtered water from the fridge, and you remembered to put ice in the drink too. Oh shit, I gotta put my ice cubes away. I bought like a pack of like Sonero ice cubes that you can just put in the refrigerator to make it super cold, so it's like reusable all the time. You can't actually eat it though, so that's a sad part, but it's reusable ice at least. The diluted lemon juice sloshed around and threatened to spill over as you piled in the ice. You left some space for Cove's lemon slices. Finally, you took hold of the hefty bag of white sugar and pulled it close to the counter's edge. Close? Not close. Stray grains of sugar that coated the bag came to stick against your still damp fingers instead. You feel like you were building a sandcastle at the beach. You added just one pinch. You added half a cup. You added a full cup. 2 cups. You just poured sugar in until it powdered the bottom of the glass. Excuse me. I would do this. You searched around the kitchen until you found a colorful ceramic mixing spoon. You dunked it into the pitcher and carefully stirred. A quiet smile grew on your face as you watched the bits of sugar swirl around the pale yellow drink. At this point, the separate ingredients had truly come together to become lemonade. Round and round you turned the spoon, almost hypnotic the way the juice swirled inside the pitcher. Your trance was broken by a sharp hiss at your side. You dropped the spoon, losing in the depths of lemonade, and snapped your head towards Cove. He was holding his left hand up to his face, a thick bubble of dark red— Oh my god! Had slipped down from one of his fingers and streaked over his palm. Oh, ouch. That's not great. Why did you keep bandaging screaming at the sight? Derek, Cove's hurt. You completely froze. You okay? Cove plainly shrugged. It's nothing. Without even thinking about it, Cove reached for his hand down to wipe the mess on his pants. Luckily for his trousers, Derek flipped around at the commotion. His tense, worried face took in the scene, and a disbelieving shout startled Cove into freezing. Don't do that! Cove stared incredulously from the corner of his eyes with an arm awkwardly sticking out from his side. His sudden pause in a strange position reminded you of the red light, green light game you'd played at your elementary school, except there was no green, only red in Cove's version. I'm fine. No way. You're gonna ruin your clothes and maybe your finger. It could get infected. Derek stretched his arm high to grasp the taller teen by the shoulders. He stepped backwards, getting Cove to move with him. We're gonna clean that all for real. Cove muttered and averted fine as he stumbled along with Derek, who was reversing out of the kitchen. Michiko, do you mind cleaning up the cutting board? No, I'll take care of it. He gathered the knife onto the cutting board and brought it over to the trash. The lemon slices couldn't be used in a drink after that. You used the knife to scrape them off and into the bag. Then you got to rinsing the board and knife in the sink with soap and hot water. You switched between staring down at the suds and checking over the counter for the boys. You were careful not to accidentally get a cut of your own, but it was hard not to wonder what was going on down the hall. By the time you finished washing up, Cove and Derek re-emerged in the living room. An unassuming brown bandage was wrapped around the cut on Cove's finger.
It's okay.
It wasn't deep. We washed it off, got it clean, put a bandage on it. Good as new. Derek marched with confidence right back into the kitchen. Cove hesitated in the living room. He waved apologetically.
Hey.
Are you really okay? I definitely am. I just nicked myself with the lemon. When a lemon slipped. The juice stinging me was way worse than the cutting itself. That's a relief. Thanks for helping, Derek. Thank you too. It's cleaner in here. Aw. Yo, are they showing how, like, caring Derek is? Like, he is a man that could take care of you. He held his hand up to you for a high five. It had been washed clean of the lemon juice that coated it before. You slapped his hand. High five, bro. You swung your palm forward and clapped Derek back. He pumped his arm enthusiastically as a follow-up. Cove walked over to join the two of you, smiling ruefully. Thanks for caring. Always, man. Oh, you're so cute. Now what? Well, he took a second to look between you and Cove as he puzzled out a next step, and then he beamed. Let's try our lemonade. It doesn't need slices or the zest. Then what were you doing, Derek? We could technically still dump the zest in there because he had it still, unless he wasn't doing anything. Derek gave an exaggerated wave across the front of his chest, blowing the whole thing off. Cove eagerly supported the sentiment. He was more than ready to put the prior incident behind him.
You're right.
Yeah, lemonade doesn't need to be fancy. It's lemonade. Oh, that's delicious lemonade. Oh my god, the spoon. Why did I use such a tiny spoon? Derek nodded as he strained to lift the nearly full pitcher. He had to balance on his tiptoes to pour the juice into the set of 3 glasses that had been put out earlier. It looks so silly. The spoon just chilling in there. If Derek noticed there was a spoon clattering around in there, he pretended that he didn't. It took a glass for a taste. You passed on the lemonade. No, you took a glass for a taste. What the heck? Why would we not try it? At the same time, Cove and Derek tipped their cups and took full gulps of the drink. The reaction was immediate. Cove's back went stock straight, and then he spit it into the cup. Derek's face and body scrunched together, but it was polite enough to choke the gritty beverage down. That's not lemonade. That's lemon-flavored sugar goop. Derek exhaled painfully and chuckled from nervous shock. It's kind of chunky. He joined in the laughter, though yours was far more sinister. I had the sugar just like you asked. You boldly took a sip of sweet lemon slop. Smirking the entire time. Derek used the hand to wipe a few drops of what could loosely be called lemonade off the ground on his face.
That's really bad.
Here's something else, Michiko. What do you mean? It is sweet ass lemonade. We just gotta stir it a little bit and then it'll, dissolve itself maybe. Cove nudged a glass of undrinkable liquid away from himself, but his enthusiasm hasn't been squashed. He had his own idea what to do. Let's fill the water balloons. Slowly, cautiously, Derek questioned Cove's plan. He didn't want to ruin things, but expressing concern was more important.
Are you sure?
Will you really be alright in a water balloon fight with your finger and stuff? Cove remained relaxed in the face of Derek's worry. He wasn't going to bring the mood down after the commotion he caused earlier. He responded to the inquiry by slickly pulling out the big gun. Your neighbor smirked as he held up his left arm over his chest, showing the full length of the jagged, pale scar that marked him. I've had worse. Derek's eyes widened and his mouth was stuck hanging open. You'd seen Derek in a swimsuit. He didn't have a single scratch on his skin, or if he did, it was tiny enough to be covered by nothing more than neon shorts. He could only imagine what Cove had gone through to get injured with such a lasting impact. So if Cove Holden said he could manage a cut, he could manage a cut.
Whoa!
You're pretty tough after all. The compliment had Cove preening. He caressed his trusty scar and giggled childishly. Yeah, you win that round, Cove. Alright, let's do it. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you busted open the baggie of water balloons, pushed the tool of your lemonade production aside, and got to work on another summer project. You stretched the open end of a water balloon over the faucet. The plastic fit snugly under the silver spout. You still kept your hands on it to make certain the balloon didn't pop off and shoot a stream into your face like a busted water fountain. Derek flipped the handle up for you, and the first saggy balloon rapidly expanded. Out of the bag, the balloon was a dark emerald color, but in only a few seconds, the bloated sack of water had stretched so thin the grain had became almost translucent. It was as pale as Cove's hair. Before it was pushed beyond its limits, Derek turned the faucet off again. You carefully pinched and strained the top of your perfectly plump toy and then harvested it off the silver vine. Cove reached out for it as he intended to tie the balloons while you and Derek continued filling. Derek looked between the balloon and Cove's hand and called a timeout. He had been a little over a year to get involved and realized in that moment that their team arrangement wasn't the most efficient. He requested to switch positions with Cove. Cove rolled his eyes, but he couldn't argue. His bandage could easily be yanked right off by the tough, tight loops of plastic that formed around the fingers while tying them. Your optimized party got back into action with you hooking balloons into place, Cove handling water distribution, and Derek sealing the deal with a knot. Soon you had a couple dozen shiny water balloons overflowing in the sink basin. Cove pushed off from the counter silently. He disappeared from the kitchen and left you and Derek wondering. He went down the hall into his bedroom. He was only gone for a minute before stepping back into the hall with a pure white, whole, speckled laundry basket. The point of that was obvious, but his choice of Ben did get a bit of ribbing from Derek. Did you dump your clothes on the floor for that? Yeah, they were already dirty.
Oh.
Derek blinked. He hadn't expected that to be true, or for Code to be straightforward about it. I mean, from what I remember Code's bedroom, he has sand in there too. He snickered at the exchange, still casually leaning against the sink. When Cove dropped the very newly empty laundry basket on the tile, he cradled a few water balloons in your arms and placed them inside. Cove and Derek joined in with the transfer. Eventually, every water balloon had safely made it into the basket.
Nice!
Derek and Cove each took one side and lifted, while you helped stir by grabbing the back end. Moving us when the two of you shuffled out of the kitchen and through the living room to take your treasure chest jiggly jewels into the neighborhood. The door was open. The drop from the curb to the street was overcome, and you successfully placed the laundry basket in the center of the empty road. Well, we're here. We are here. Derek slowly curled and uncurled his fist. Cove didn't take his eyes off you or Derek. No one made a move for the pile. You held your breath from the growing tension. You broke the pause and grabbed a weapon. Cove lashed out like a snake at your move and got his hand around a balloon of his own before you could do anything with yours. But Derek wasn't going to be left behind either. He stuck both his hands deep into the mass and came out with 2 balloons. In quick succession, Derek launched one at you and the other at Cove. You felt the impact of a solid object slamming against your chest before it burst into a million pieces, and a shock of cold water seeped into the front of your dress. I'm wearing a dress? Oh no! Cove was left sputtering with a dark stain at the lower edge of his top. He shook the hit off and chucked a balloon directly at Derek in return. It exploded against his right shoulder. No one was dry anymore. No one was safe. The war was on. You threw yours at Derek. You threw yours at Cove. You ran to put distance between you and them. Throwing mine at Derek. It landed true and added a second dripping blotch on Derek's favorite jersey. We're even, Derek.
It's on.
Yeah, not for long. The 3 of you elbowed against each other to dig into the pile and restock your supplies. Politely taking turns was out of the question. The water balloon fight was in full force. Derek sprinted up and down the street, making himself into a moving target. He'd only make a mad dash for the center area when he ran out of balloons. Cove had no fear of being an easy target and stayed right behind the laundry basket, lobbing strike after strike at you and Derek. You hid in your home's doorway and took shots from cover. You chased after Derek. You competed with Cove. Chase after Derek. This is Derek's route. I gotta stay loyal to Derek as much as I want to pay attention to Cove. As fast as he was, he stayed hot on his heels. Derek had to duck from shots raining over him thanks to Cove and watch his back on account of you. He darted around, skipping, jumping, and changing course in a mostly vain attempt to avoid the onslaught, though he breathed heavily through a massive grin. Laughter and water splashes filled the normally quiet Sunset Bird neighborhood. You were convinced the mean grandparents would jump out and shout about the noise. Luckily, no one interrupted your revelry, and even if someone had, they would have been putting their dryness at risk by confronting your group. Rapidly, the amounts of balloons dwindled until each person only had one left in hand, and the laundry basket had nothing except a little puddle at the bottom with scraps of rubber scattered in it. Arms were held high in the air, taking aim. Oh, they're actually drenched. You can actually tell from the darkness of it, the top of their shirts. And I shifted from one option to the other. Derek wound his hand further back. Cove and you couldn't take your eyes off him. Your teeth gritted as you tried desperately to calculate where the balloon would fly. Would it be Cove or you? However, Derek chose neither. He launched it straight up in the air. It reached an impressive height, and you could barely see the speck of yellow against the vast blue sky, until it inevitably sailed down and smacked against the tarmac. Derek broke into more snickers the exact moment the balloon broke into 1,000 drops of water. He wasn't the only one amused by the stunt. Cove smiled then. He opened his fingers to let his balloon drop harmlessly to the ground. Cove didn't pick it back up. Instead, he brutally brought his foot against his own weapon and decimated it under his heel. A jovial truce has been formed between the two. You threw yours in the air too. You stepped on the balloon. You broke it against your own head. Let's be different. Just smack it against my own head. If no one was throwing balloons at each other anymore, and that didn't mean you had to waste a shot. You positioned the balloon at the center of your forehead and pressed it unforgivingly until it popped. Derek and Cove exclaimed in amazement. It was like you'd done that party trick where you crushed a soda can against your head, or as if you were Derek crushing a piece of pie into his own face to entertain his brothers. That was how the grandest battle your neighborhood had likely ever seen came to an end. You were all dripping wet and out of breath, and you couldn't be happier. Derek rubbed his hands together in satisfaction before crouching to the ground to start collecting tiny bits of water balloon debris. Cove strode around to gather the confetti like trash on his own accord as well. There didn't have to be a discussion. Derek and Cove had that quality in common, a distaste for litter. You appreciated that about both of them and joined in to help pick up the pieces off the ground. They're such sweet kids, bro. I would not be mad if they were making all that noise, because after all that noise, they're cleaning it all up. Most kids would be like, alright, let's go in. You quietly wandered around, filling your fist with the rubbery remains as the sun crept behind the condo roofs. Your shadows grow longer in the waning light. You felt the damp clinging of your clothes more acutely as the excitement died down. Your team managed to finish cleaning before night had completely fallen. All the trash was dumped into a tall green trash can at the side of Cove's house. With all that remained of the carnage being a few drying watermarks spotting the street, your group had returned to the state you originally started in, directionless relaxation. Cove had been perfectly willing to return to his house while still wet and scrounge up fresh glasses and lemonade to plunge Plus, he had your candies tucked under his arm. It was a struggle to balance it all. But Cove took one for the team as someone who actually lived there. You and Derek didn't have to go in and make a mess of the Holden home, though you imagined Cove's dad wouldn't have cared. He passed a drink to you and one to Derek, then used his free hand to flip the laundry basket over. It was less flimsy than it looked because Cove sat on it and it didn't buckle at all. Derek politely passed on the seat Cove provided. He remained standing while shifting his weight from one foot to the other. Sat on the ground, you sat on the basket with Cove, who stood around near Derek. That's where you would be the most comfortable. Derek welcomed you to the standing section with him. Cove quietly took a sip of his lemonade. There was no gagging, so you assumed he added more water before bringing it out. Derek circled the top of his glass with the tip of one finger watching Cove.
Are you alright?
How's your hand? Cove savored another taste of the drink, let out a refreshed sigh, and then answered.
It's okay.
It's still fine. Cool. The ritual of checking on him was complete, and Derek could only chuckle bashfully over his habit. Bro, he's so cute. Coke smiled over the rim of his cup. There was comfort in knowing Derek would always care. In between enjoying the lemonade was plenty of munching on candies. It was a match made in heaven. The air was warm enough to be comfortable even with your wet clothes. Lemonade, candies, and company. That was what days like these were for. It couldn't get much better. Cove agreed contentedly without you even having to say so. Summer really is the best season.
Same.
I think so too. No, I don't think so. I do not like the heat or the mosquitoes or the bugs or sunburns or anything like that. I prefer like spring and fall, you know, the seasons that are actually easing you into the worst ones. But I mean, if I had to pick, I would choose winter over summer because, you know, I'd rather be cold than sweaty and sticky. It's only the best because of school vacation. It wins by default. You simply shrugged. Me 3, I was just thinking about that. It's okay, I guess. Summer's the worst of them. I don't want to be the downer of the group, okay? So, me 3. Awesome. I mean, technically, if I was a kid, summer would be the best. Not because of the heat and temperature, but because summer vacation. And I get to game all day and stay home all day, you know? I think the expression rested on Derek's face as he spoke softly. It'd be nice if things could be like this all the time, huh? But then Derek lifted his glass and spoke in a mock outrage to the world at large. Why can't it always be summer break? Despite it being an obvious joke, Derek's words struck a chord with Cove. His total chill hardened into seriousness. He drowned his glass of lemonade and hopped onto his feet. I'm gonna go check something. You should come, both of you. He considered that a sufficient offer because Cove simply walked back to the front of his house and left the empty glass at the side of the door. Derek's gaze followed his friend. He lifted one brow. What are we gonna see? You'll see when we get there. You're probably gonna try to talk me out of it, so you don't need to know now.
What?
He almost dropped his cup. Derek twisted his head to track Cove's moves with his saucer wide eyes. Or maybe Michiko would. This is gonna be trouble.
Come on.
Still completely confident, Cove strolled up the road. Derek gulped, but not the lemonade. He pointed a panic glance at you. We should go. My voice is dying. Oh my god. Derek hooked his open hand through the side of the handle of the laundry basket. He jogged on his tiptoes over to Cove's condo. The bin bumped along against the street behind him. He flung it in front of him and left it there in the entry. He placed his half-empty lemonade by Cove's. You're right behind him. You dropped the candies into the laundry basket and complete the set of glasses by placing yours next to theirs. Let's go. After another light jog, he caught up to Cove. He was going at a leisurely pace and smirked when he saw the two of you in the corner of his vision. Hey. Hi. Together, Cove, and Derek left your neighborhood and returned to the main sidewalk that you took to reach the grocery store hours earlier. An exchange of glances between you and Derek were the only interaction you had during the walk. Cove kept his sun-kissed face forward and his mouth shut. Shopping was on your neighbor's mind because that building was passed without acknowledgement. He was taking you further down the path. Only about a minute later, your progress was halted by a row of strikingly orange traffic cones and strings of droopy "Do Not Cross" banners. Should we go around? No, we're here. Huh? Derek stalled. Cove, however, got onto his knees in front of the blocked-off area. His eyes were glinting with intention. I saw this when we were leaving, but people were working on it. The concrete is still wet, and there's no one around now. Yet again, Cove had knocked a gasp out of Derek. You're not gonna mess it up, right? Cove didn't have to say anything to answer. He shared a coy smile that was enough.
Oh man.
Oh, Cove, that is really bad. The grin on Derek's face trembled, both from laughter and threatening to spill out into the fear of getting in trouble. It's perfect. Why am I not surprised? Cove, you can. Yep, it makes sense why you didn't say this before. You shook your head aside. You stared around nervously in case anyone caught you. Why am I not surprised? Because you know me. Fuck, I need to stop knowing you. I can't love this childhood friend. I must love the other one. Kel fiercely stuck his finger into the muddy gray concrete. He slowly etched out a series of numbers. When he was done, the corner of the block had 2011 scribbled into it for all to see. Oh my god, 2011 was like 11 years ago? Because we're in 2022. Did I do my math right? 2022, 2011. Yeah, it's 11 years. Your initials, you wrote all three of your initials. You added summer above coast 2001. You drew a heart. I drew a heart. It really pulled the whole thing together.
It's nice.
Yep. We loved 2011. I think I was still in school at the time. I was, yeah. Damn. Time flies. Now I'm an adult. Derek stared hard at the soft, forbidden canvas and slowly crouched down. He paused, bit his lip, then ultimately pressed one finger into the tacky surface to leave a small print. He left a sign of his presence there on that day, right along with Cove and you. Relief came to Derek's features once he finished. Hopefully he dries before anybody finds out. Yeah. Did Derek just poke it? Like add a single dot beside the 2011? A single word, it was only a whisper, but it was warm and pure. Thanks for taking us, Cove. You're welcome. Alright, memories. Cove dusted his pants off as he stood after a job well done. Derek shot up as well, newly invigorated. He looked to the sky and squinted at the sun. The day was coming to an end, but no one could say your group had wasted it. That was true for the entire summer. No matter what happened when school started again and when an unknown future arrived, you still have the memories you made together when you had the chance and the things you left behind. Cute! Almost a whole hour later. I wonder if all these DLCs are a whole hour. Because that'd be crazy on my throat. Ugh. But the next one we're going to do is siblings, and then the boardwalk, and then the soiree. And then we must end summer to move on to step 3, where I just basically speedrun it and make sure I hit everything for Derek. No matter what it is, everything's for Derek. But thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I will see you guys in the next one.